Chapter 3. Before you, there was Candace. She was stubborn too, so I'm going to be patient with you. Same way I was patient with her. I am not going to hold it against you and that old bulky laptop computer of yours you write about every fucking thing in the world except me. I am no idiot, Beck. I know how to search a hard drive and I know I'm not in there and I know you don't even own anything resembling a notebook or a diary. One possible theory, you write about me on the notepad on your phone. Hope remains. But I'm not going to pull away from you. Sure, you are uniquely sexual. Case in point, you devour the casual encounters section on Craigslist, copying and pasting your favorite posts to a giant file on your computer. Why, Beck? Why? Fortunately, you don't participate in casual encounters. And I suppose that girls like to collect things, be it kale soup recipes or poorly worded, grammatically offensive daddy fantasies composed by desperate loners. Hey, I'm still here, I accept you. And, okay, so you do let this blonde creep do things to you that you read about in those Craigslist ads. But at least you have boundaries. That perp is not your boyfriend. You send him into the street where he belongs as if you are disgusted with him, which you should be. And I have read all your recent emails, and it's official. You did not tell anyone that he was in your apartment inside of you. He is not your boyfriend. All that matters is I am ready to find you, and I am able to find you, and I owe that to Candace. Dear Candace, I first saw Candace at the Glasslands in Brooklyn. She played flute in a band with her brother and sister. You would like their music. They were called Martyr, and I wanted to know her right away. I was patient. I followed them all over Brooklyn and Lower Manhattan. They were good. They weren't ever going to be top 40, but sometimes they'd have a song featured in a wretched show for teenagers on the CW and their website would explode. They didn't have a label because they couldn't agree on anything. Anyway, Candace was the prettiest, the lead of the band. Her brother was your standard drummer, fuck-up douchebag, and her sister was homely and talented. You can't just bum rush a girl after a concert, especially when the band's music is ambient techno electro shit. And when her psycho-controlling brother, who by the way would never be in a band were it not for his sisters, is always hanging around. I had to get Candace alone. And I couldn't be some guy hitting on her because of her protective brother. And I was going to die if I didn't get to hold her, or at least make a step toward holding her, so I improvised. One night, out of the Glasslands where it all began, I introduced myself to Martin as the new assistant at Stop It Records. I told them I was scouting. Well, bands like being scouted, and there I was minutes later, in a booth drinking whiskey with Candace and her irritating siblings. Her sister left, good girl, but her brother was a problem. I couldn't kiss Candace or ask for her number. Email me, she said. I can take a picture of it and put it on Instagram. We love it when labels reach out. So I did what my Elliot and Hannah would do. I staked out Stop Records, a sad little joint, and noticed this kid they called Peters to come and go every day. Before and after work, he'd duck into an alley and smoke a little pot. You couldn't blame him, what with the shit he put up with at work. Peters was the assistant to all the record label pricks in tight jeans who call their glasses eyewear and call out for splendid extra Parmigiano Reggiano. So I camped out with a joint in an alley one day and asked Peters for a light. It was easy to make friends. People at the bottom of the totem pole are hungry for other people. I told him all about the dilemma with Candace, how I told her I work for Stop It, and it was his idea to email her from his account, ASST1@stopitrecords.com, and pretend to be me. Candace wrote back, giddy, hot. And of course she gave me her number. I didn't feel bad about using Peters. If anything, he finally felt like he had something resembling power. And sometimes you have to play around with the facts to get the girl. I have seen enough romantic comedies to know that romantic guys like me are always getting into jams like this. Kate Hudson's entire career exists because people who fall in love sometimes tell lies about where they work, and Candace believed that I was a scout. I waited until we'd been together for a month before I told her the truth. She was mad at first. Girls get mad sometimes, even when the guy's Matthew McConaughey. But I reminded her of the comic romantic truth at heart. The world is an unfair place. I know music. I'm smart. I think Martin deserves to be scouted and worshipped. Had I gone to some liberal arts college and worn vintage socks and subscribed to the notion that a Bachelor of Arts qualifies someone as employable and intelligent, I could have gotten a non-paying internship at a shitty record label and parlayed it into a shitty job too. But as it happens, I don't subscribe to that antiquated notion. I'm my own person. She understood at first, but her brother was another story, one of the reasons it didn't work out between Candace and me. The good news is that I have no regrets. My troubles with Candace were training for this moment. I had to get your place back, and I knew what to do. I called the gas company and reported a leak at your apartment when I knew you would be at your dance class and you would always have coffee after class with a friend in the class. And this is the only guaranteed time that you're away from your computer. I waited on my stoop across the way. For the gas man to arrive. When he did, I told him I was your boyfriend and that you sent me to help out. The law requires that all gas leaks be investigated, and the law of guys indicates that a guy like me, having dropped out of high school, has a certain way of dealing with guys who work for the gas company. What can I say? I knew he'd buy that I was your boyfriend and let me in. And I knew that even if he thought I was lying in that job, he'd let me in. You can't just call him the gas man and not show up, Beck. Seriously. He leaves, and the first thing I do is take your computer and sit on your couch and smell your green pillow. And drink green water out of your brown mug. I washed it because his ash is linger. You don't know how to wash a dish. I read your story called What Wilder Was Thinking When He Brought His Kia. It's about an old dude in California buying a shitty import car and feeling like that's the last vestige of his life as a cowboy. The twist is that he wasn't an actual cowboy. He played cowboys in westerns, but they don't make westerns anymore, and Wiley never adapted. He had never had a car because he spent most of his days at a coffee shop where guys like him sat around talking about the good old days. But they recently outlawed smoking. You italicized outlawed, which is cute, and so now the gang has no local place to smoke cigarettes and tell their stories. The story ends with Wiley and his key, and he can't remember how to start. He's holding his key that's just a miniature computer and realizes he doesn't know where to go, so he buys an e-cigarette and returns to the coffee shop and sits alone smoking his e-cigs. I'm no genius MFA candidate in your workshop. Seriously, Beck, they don't understand you or your stories, but you yearn for what was. You're a dead guy's daughter thoroughly. You understand Paula Fox, and you aspire to make all sense of all things Old West, which makes your settling, even temporarily, in New York a self-destructive mood. You're compassionate. You wrote about old actors because of the photography books in your apartment. So many pictures of places you can't go because they aren't there anymore. You're a romantic searching for a Coney Island man, the drug dealers and the gum wrappers in an innocent California where real cowboys and fake cowboys traded stories over tin daily cups of coffee they called Joe. You want to go places you can't go. In your bathroom, the door is closed and you sit on the toilet. You stare at a photograph of Einstein. You look like you like to look into his eyes while you struggle against your bowels. And believe me, Beck, when we're together, your stomach issues will be over because I won't allow you to live on frozen shit and cans of sodium water labeled soup. You like Einstein because he saw what nobody saw. Also not a writer, he's not the competition now or ever. I turn on the TV and Pitch Perfect is your most watched thing, which makes sense now that I can see your college life on your Facebook. I'm finally inside citing the history of you in pictures you did not sing a cappella or passion or true love. You and your best friend Shannon Lynn got drunk a lot. There was a third friend who was tall and very thin. She dwarfs you and your little friends. This outsider friend isn't tagged in any of the pictures, and there must be something redeeming about her because you appear very proud of this friendship, which has lasted since your childhood. The untagged girl looks unhappy in every shot. Her non-smiling smile will haunt me, and it's time to move on. You dated two guys. Charlie looked like he was always recovering from a Dave Matthews concert. When you were with him, you sat on lawns and did club kid drugs. You escaped that drug-addled dullard and fell into the pin-thin arms of a spoiled punk named Hesher. On a side note, I know Hesher, not personally, but he's a graphic novelist and we sell his books in the shop. At least we do right now, but obviously the first order of business on my next ship will be burying Hesher's books in the basement. You've been to Paris and Rome and have never been out of the country and never found what you were looking for in Hesher or Paris or Charlie or Rome in college. You left Charlie for Hesher and you were cold. Charlie never got over you. He looks permanently drunk to this day in his pictures. You worship Hesher and he never reciprocated, at least not on Facebook. There are lots of posts where you praise him and he never responds. Then one day you became single and your friends liked your status in a way that leaves no doubt that you were the one dumped. Pitch Perfect has ended, and I go to your bedroom and I am on your bed, unmade, and I hear the sound of a key entering a keyhole and turning, and a blitzkrieg in my mind, the landlord bitching to the gas man earlier today. Smallest unit in the building, smallest fucking keyhole, always sticks. And I hear you put a key in your keyhole and the door opens. And the apartment is small, and you are inside of it. You're right, Beck. It is a fucking shitbox.